Hello everyone. I am really excited to talk to you today about a new tool that I have just added to my website, quiltingjetgirl.com. When you visit my webpage, at the top you will see a menu structure, and at the end of that menu there is a new option called the Triangle Quilt Calculator. When you click on that link, it will take you to a page that loads an equilateral triangle quilt calculator. As you saw as the page loaded, it took a few moments for the calculator to load because it is being hosted by Microsoft Office Online. So it has to, load and then be brought onto my web page. And it's just an Excel file. And the way it works is you click in the blue boxes are your inputs, and at the bottom of the calculator it gives you options for how you want to finish the quilt, and you will see what your finished pieced quilt size will be. I have seen many people struggle with knowing how large their equilateral or 60-degree triangle quilts will become once they are sewn together, because it's not your typical seam allowance math that you can use. So I went ahead and put together this tool, and as a great bonus you can download it by clicking on this button here in the gray portion of the tool, and you can save the Excel file to your hard drive and use it over and over again. If you continue down the page, there are instructions to help explain each of the various inputs. As I mentioned, the blue text and the worksheet are the inputs and the red is the output. Let me just go ahead and demonstrate. If I scroll back up to the top of the page, if I click into the number across and type in a new number and hit enter, you will see that the outputs update and you get new answers. If for some reason I'm on one of the output rectangles or locations and I type in something and I click on it, it will bring up a warning and say that that portion of the worksheet is protected and you won't be able to change it. So click OK and move away, and it will go back to the actual formula. So you actually will not be able to overwrite the results, which is a very handy feature. The only cells that you are able to manipulate are the blue input cells. The height of strip is when you are creating your 60-degree triangles for your quilt piecing. Typically the instructions will, for a quilt will say cut 5 inches by width of fabric, and you'll do that, and then from there you'll cut your triangles out using some rulers or being very careful with your rotary cutter and the mat that you have. So what the input is required is that height from the top of your equilateral triangle to a base, or the height of the strip that you're cutting your triangles from, and that's how the math is based. Also, it needs to know how many triangles across and how many rows you plan to have in the quilt, and you can modify that number and see the outputs and adjust until you get to the quilt size that you desire. That way you can figure out how many triangles you need to cut of your desired size in order to piece your quilt top. And then the output section, if you keep scrolling down the page, explains your various finishing options. One option that you have when you're piecing a triangle quilt is to piece in half triangles at the beginning and end of each row. And when you do that, you will see the size of your quilt top in the edge finishing piece half triangles output section. Another option that you have is to trim back your quilt after you've sewn the triangles and the rows together and trim it square. Or you can just leave those edges raw and have a non-even binding, which is a very cool finish. Cheryl at Meadow Mist Designs just did that recently on one of her Riley Blake challenge quilts that she entered into the Bloggers Quilt Festival for the fall of 2015, so you can go check out what that would look like. And if you choose either one of those options, the size of your piece quilt top will be in the edge finishing trim output section, and it will be the smallest width dimension that your quilt will be in width if you don't choose to trim and you leave the edges a little raw. So again, those are the options for this tool, and I'm really excited about it. I think it will empower you to make good choices and make sure that you're getting enough fabric for your quilt tops, and bring some understanding into how many triangles you want to make or cut in order to make your quilt top. Currently, it does not give you any information about how much fabric to buy. That gets a little bit more cumbersome for me to program in at this period of time, but I could add it if there's a lot of requests. And if you have other requests for other tools similar to this that I could add that would be beneficial for you, leave me comments, questions, suggestions, and anything else that you can think of in the comments below. Thank you so much.